Square metre theory in building, it's a theory I want to debunk. It often comes up in conversation and it's something that really is misleading to people if you're not in the market or with a strong understanding of how it works. A square metre rate is a great tool if you're looking on a level site or a site that's maybe 1,000 square metres in outer suburbia or an acreage where you can get access later on and have those components you build complete. That's the easy thing to build. For us, we find that getting to the slab is a challenging part, and there's probably up to 20 or 30% of costs that can be hidden to get to having a slab poured. And then we have to look at what's outside of the walls after that, which brings in a whole nother element. There's 6 components I'd like you to consider or share with you that must be factored into the build and your total end cost of your finished project. I feel that once the slab's poured, as a builder, it's pretty easy. The hard work's done. It's getting to that slab stage is the challenging part. Most builders are pretty good at getting their build done from slab upwards, but getting to that slab, that's a challenging part, and that's what separates a custom builder from a project builder. The first one I'd look at is potentially I'll look at the contours and the site cut. We have things like fill removal, excavation, retaining walls. All of these are costly factors that need to be identified and in place for your slab to be poured, for the easy stuff to go on afterwards. We also need to factor neighbours' properties, things like fencing and retaining walls. If we can leave something in place and not have to spend any more money on it to get it to a level that you want finished, let's leave it where it is, don't touch it. It's something we need to look at. We may be able to remove a retaining wall off a boundary a little bit, do a drop edge on a slab. There's a lot of factors we can consider in the design element to offset these costs that aren't necessary in the end. We often find in our Queensland climate, particularly in southeast Queensland, everyone wants a pool nowadays, and they're a great investment for a young family particularly, and it's something most people want in their house. The pool is a considerable cost that can only be done, generally speaking, prior to the house slab being poured, and that needs to be done prior to build. I've seen builders put the pool build onto clients themselves. That can be challenging. If you take the ownership of that pool build, you're responsible for pool heights, finish heights. It's an open opportunity for everyone to say, hey, that's not my fault. That was on you, I didn't organise that. The pool really needs to be considered and factored in with the design and the construction in the right process. As you may be able to see behind me, I'm sure you can see some of the landscaping elements that we have factored into this build. On a 400 square metre block with a 1 metre boundary, you need to landscape before your building's completed. You can't get machinery down a narrow site. It's something that needs to be addressed. We factor landscaping into our build process, as this is something that's far more costly to do at the end of the build rather than during the build. Driveways speak for themselves. We all know what a driveway is. Generally speaking, the driveway goes at the front of the house, to state the obvious. Again, this is something that's incorporated best with the build. Sometimes that driveway can tie in with your patio slab or your entry slab, and it's of great benefit to do that all in one so it looks connected and it flows. Yes, it's not the most critical thing. Driveways can be done post-build, but again, for that integration of the front door, the flow from the driveway, the garage, the entry, it's probably a component that's best off considered in your design and executed before handover. So in summary, let's put our square metre rate aside and let's think about these elements that are required to get us to slab level, which, as I said, that's the challenging part. Ask your builder, are they looking at site costs, fill removal, piers? Are they looking at the neighbour's fence, the neighbour's retaining walls, the location of their patio, for privacy reasons also? Is the pool included? Are you allowed to have the pool before the build process? Because if it's after the process, that's going to present a problem. Landscaping, is that included, particularly when you're dealing with limited access to the backyard? Driveway, we've covered that. You can do that yourself, but is it included? These are things that need to be considered to generate the budget. I've seen over the years when people go to site and the build is supposed to be an enjoyable process, it only gets stressful when there's not enough money to pay the bills or to get the project completed. Our strategy is to give you these numbers up front where you finish it, so you can go to the bank before we start the project, all your ducks in a row, all finance there, everything covered, included and finished to enjoy the build process.